How to be a graphic designer without getting fired. It's easy to be a graphic designer. All you need to do is buy the right glasses and get a merino wool V-neck sweater. It is exponentially harder to be a graphic designer and not get fired. Now, I should know because for the first 10 years of my career, they were marred by stupid mistakes. So let's take a look at what some of those mistakes were and how you can avoid them. I'm going to give you some solid advice on how to be a graphic designer and in the process not get fired. Now, in June 1993, I started work as a designer for Electra Records at 75 Rockefeller Plaza in Manhattan. I had just completed 2 years in graduate school studying design and at a school that had had a huge influence on the design community. Now, things were quite different from today in the 1990s. There were still proper record companies with art departments and budgets. Now, the art department at Electra Records was a single small room, almost a cube on the 17th floor, if memory serves correct. The department was pretty small. There was an art director who was my boss and 3 other designers and me. When I arrived from Michigan and started work, the tasks that were first assigned to me by my boss were to take existing CDs from Electra's catalog and to chop them down into Sony mini disc format. As an example, I might be given the task of taking a Bob Marley record and squeezing the shit out of it, removing almost everything but the headshot and the title of the record in an attempt to fit it all on a 3-inch square. Now, including their back catalog, Electra had hundreds of artists on the label. My work was absolutely mind-numbing production and seemed to never end. On top of that, in the office, my computer faced an opposite wall of a large bank of windows. And the glare coming off the screen was pretty extreme. So at the end of each day, my eyes were literally bugging out of my head. This was decidedly not what I had imagined when I thought about working at a record company. At that point, U2's Zoo TV had just dropped, and somehow, prior to starting my job, I had visions that I thought that I might be asked to conceptualize stage shows or to work on music videos or some such shit. Now, my naivete was quickly disabused, and but my big break did come when I was eventually, after a couple of weeks, assigned to design a new Eagles Greatest Hits CD release for Electra's international division. Now, I had always hated the Eagles, and at that point, I really hated country music. So the fit on this job might have been off from the start. And to make a very, very long story short, after doing design directions and presenting them to the creative director or whoever it was at the international division, I was apparently told that Don Henley absolutely hated my design directions. I was taken off of that project, and within a few days I was let go or fired, or however you want to look at it. Now, I believe that I was more than capable of designing something appropriate for the Eagles, but my attitude of superiority, my arrogance, and my stubbornness kept me from designing the record with a straight face, so to speak. My design direction was corny cowboy shit. Now, over time, I learned that an attitude of superiority is rarely a good thing. Now, as with everything, there are specific instances where an attitude of superiority is an asset, but that's the subject of a different video. In most instances, belief that you are either too good, too smart, too handsome, too rich, too strong, or merely superior is a huge barrier to effectively interacting with people. Now, in this experience, I had the distinct attitude of superiority. I thought that many of the tasks that were being assigned to me were below me. Or at the very least, below my thinking and below the way that I believed that design should work. And this is one of many stories I could tell you from the first 10 years of my career where my arrogance and stupidity and my disdain for the client brought me absolutely immeasurable pain. Now, it is logical when we stop to think about it. And that is the problem, that as a designer who has dedicated years to studying typography, communication, composition, color shape, line form, language, and craft, design as a whole, that you're often directly interfacing with people who have no such commitment or no such history. In other words, clients who are in fact paying the bill most often don't know or often know exponentially less than you do about the subject. But because they're behind the money, they have tremendous power in the relationship. Now, if you spent any time at all as a professional designer, you've had clients who, although they know nothing, absolutely nothing about typography or design, believe that they know more about the subject matter than you. These clients often turn a designer into a pair of hands. Make that bigger, make it red, push it up in the corner, or make it bigger, put it over there, remove that, make the type smaller, now make it black. Oh, I changed my mind. We're going to use this clip art that I found on the internet, but make it bigger while making it smaller, and at the same time put it in the upper left-hand corner, but make it feel like it's in the lower left-hand corner. And this is where we're at the crux of how to be a graphic designer without getting fired. We need to ask ourselves a simple question: are clients idiots? And the surprising answer is no, even when they're morons. Design is a game like chess or Go or Magic the Gathering. It is important, and the solution to the problem is to see all design projects as an existential challenge to your intelligence. The game is to solve the client's problem while at the same time believing that the end product is something that is worthy of your commitment to your craft. Now, this changed absolutely everything for me. If I'm so smart, if I believe that I'm so smart, regardless of the client's move on the chessboard, I should be able to incorporate and adjust in a way and in a manner where both the client and I believe that the shit is dope. Things change when you begin to see the design process both as a game as well as a test of your intelligence. Now, when you play chess, you assume that there will be many moments over the course of a game where your position is threatened. When you play chess, you assume that there will be worthy opponents. When the client tells you to change the typography to some bullshit and make it big and make it red and use some clip art, that's the moment. Rather than sulk and behave like a mouse, that's the moment to make something incredible from absolutely dog shit. Now, again, are clients idiots? Absolutely not. Intelligence manifests itself in many different forms. And while the client might not have the deep reservoir of knowledge about your discipline, odds are they're intelligent in another area that you don't possess. Now, the key is that you as a designer need outlets for your ego, outlets for expression of your dominance and for your intellect to be set free. So if any one project is necessary to express a designer's intellect, it will inescapably destroy the project. As an example, I got to win the Type Directors Award with this project, or I got to make my name with this project. You absolutely must have projects that are a completely free space, that have zero external pressure. For me at the time in the 1990s, that was performing in black box theaters. Also during the 1990s, as a way of addressing these issues, I was involved in typeface design, worked for Emigre magazine, print drops, pieces of experimental design. In these projects, no one was going to tell me what to do. The work was completely idealistic. So when the client says, make that type bigger and make it red, I see all of those problems as simple IQ tests. So let me be very direct. The solution to being a graphic designer and not getting fired is twofold. The first and most important point is that all design problems, regardless how difficult, are IQ tests. And the second is that some substantive body of your work must remain uncompromised. It must be a vehicle for an expression of your will to power and your intellect.